Hey there, this is James for James Shipway Guitar and welcome to Improvisation Bootcamp Lesson 3. In this video I'm going to be showing you how you can start to use call and response phrasing in your improvisations. Call and response is one of the most powerful and effective devices you can use in your solo. It lends your solo a sort of conversational feel and really ties all the different parts of it together. Now, like a lot of things, it's easy to do it when you know how. And it's really easy to hear and recognise when other people are using call and response phrasing in their playing. But it's a little bit harder to teach exactly how to do it. I'm going to do my very best to show you a few ways that you can start to introduce this concept into your playing in quite a simple way. And then you can build on that from there when you get used to using it. So what do we mean by call and response? Well, another name for it is question and answer. This maybe describes it a little bit better. The way we're going to use it is we're going to set up a question with one phrase and we're going to answer it with another one. So we hear this kind of call and response, question and answer relationship between two phrases in our solo. Now we hear this in all music, songs, solos, classical music, rock, metal, pretty much everything, all right? It's a real standard compositional device. So again, it can lend our solo a lot more structure, really give it some kind of character and framework. In a moment I'm going to demonstrate this over a backing track so you'll be able to hear it really clearly there. But first of all, let me just sort of see if I can come up with an example right off the top of my head. So say I had a basic blues lick and I was just playing in G. Say I had this lick here. Okay, now that could be like our question. It kind of sets up some expectation in the ear of the listener that something's going to come after it. I might play a phrase which creates this effect of being an answer to that phrase. Let me see what I can do on that. There, you can kind of hear how the second phrase closes that little idea off. It's like we hear the question and there's some sort of tension left there, some expectation that the answer's going to come, the answer does come, and it's like it's resolved, it's finished, and we're ready to move on to another little bit in the solo. Now I'm going to demonstrate that over 12 bar blues and I'm really going to overuse it, much more than I probably normally would if I was just playing naturally, just to try and make it really clear so you can hear it. Now it can be helpful to almost imagine two heads talking to each other, so maybe this is the first phrase, this is the second phrase. Kind of picturing that as you play sometimes can help you get this sort of conversational feel happening in a solo. So check out some of the ways I'm using it, and then we'll dissect some of them in a moment and get down to a little bit of detail about how you can start to sneak some of this into your playing. Okay, hopefully you could hear the call and response effect that I was managing to create in my playing there. Now I've been doing this stuff for quite a long time and it feels quite intuitive for me now, but you know, to start with I had to experiment with it and all this kind of stuff so that I could learn to use a bit in my playing. And I've got 3 guidelines for you which I think will help you to make some progress with using this in your improvisation. So here's the first one. Use short phrases, okay? Use a short question or short call and a short answer, short response, okay? It's much easier to do if you've just got short, concise phrases, okay, rather than long, rambling ones. Try and make your phrases a similar sort of length, okay? Again, this means they kind of mirror each other a bit more, and we hear this call and response effect much more clearly. Let me see if I can just demonstrate that over the backing now briefly, and I'm going to be playing some short phrases using call and response phrasing. Second tip, when you play your call phrase or your question phrase, try and use quite a lot of repetition in there. I'm talking like a repeated bend or a repeated note. Maybe this kind of thing. See, I'm using that bend quite a lot. Why does this work? Well, I don't really know, but somehow it seems to set up a sort of sense of expectation. So we set up this expectation, and that makes that phrase sound like a question. And the expectation is that there's going to be an answer coming. Then when we do play the next phrase, our ear kind of places it and we hear it as the answer. So try that using some repetition in your first phrase, and that will help you to set up this sense of expectation. When your answer finally does come, then it'll be all the more powerful and you'll clearly hear the call and response effect taking place. The third way that you can start to create this call and response effect is to use the contrast between two phrases, okay? So make them sound quite different in some way. Now, one of the simplest ways to do this is to play a low phrase and a high phrase, or a high phrase and a low phrase. So we hear this this opposite effect between the two phrases, and this can help us to create a call and response effect. So let's see if I can do an example of that here. Say I was down here, I'm going to play a low sort of phrase. Yeah, I managed to do that there. I was down here. I can't remember the lick, but it was something like that. And then I answered it with a higher phrase. I could do it the other way around. Maybe I play my high phrase. Low phrase. You can hear how the contrast between the two helps us to create the call and response effect. So that's something to also experiment with in your improvising. So take whichever one of those concepts you want to explore first and just practice playing around with it, free time, just like noodle around, see if you can just get the general idea. Then when you sort of feel like you're getting somewhere with it, put on a backing track and see if you can use it in an improvised solo. Now to start with, really overuse it, really overdo it. I mean, play a whole solo just made up of call and response, question and answer phrases. Why would we do this? Because by really focusing on using it a lot and really intensely, we start to absorb the idea quicker and we learn to use it faster. When you've done that and you feel like you're getting somewhere, take a step back and just improvise without focusing so heavily on the call and response concept. Just see if you can just blend it naturally into your playing and mix it in with all the stuff you normally play. By doing this, pretty quickly you'll start to find it a real valuable tool in your improvising toolbox. So that's about it for this lesson, and I really hope that you've got something useful from this that you can take away and start using in your playing straight away. If you've got any comments or questions, leave them below or reply to one of my emails and I'll get back to you. But other than that, thanks a lot for being a member. Thanks so much for watching this video, and I really look forward to seeing you in another improvisation bootcamp lesson very soon. So take care and I'll see you then.